Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Expert to Authority show. My name is Simone Vincenzi, and I'm your host. And this is the show for coaches, speakers, and trainers who want to grow their businesses while making an impact in the world. And if that's you, yes, definitely, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to talk about growing your business on autopilot. So if you're looking for evergreen ways without you being live or doing excruciating launches to sell more product or services, then this is the episode for you. So we're going to get started in a moment. But before that, a couple of things. If you are new to the show, then make sure you listen first of all until the end, and then hit the subscribe button so then you don't miss any other episode. And also, if you like what you're going to hear, then consider also leaving a review. Reviews are the lifeblood of every show, so we really appreciate that. And then the last part is we are going to hear a big part of attracting clients. We are going to talk about it today as well, is using webinars. We have created a great resource for you called the Webinar Conversion Kit, which you can find at webinarconversionkit.com, where it teaches you how to create high converting presentations for your webinars. So make sure you check it out. You can find the link below in the show notes, or you can go directly at webinarconversionkit.com. Now, let's get started with the interview. In fact, my guest today is the co-founder and CEO of eWebinar, which is an automated webinar solution that combines pre-recorded video with real-time interactions and live chat to deliver an engaging experience for attendees without a live host. She's on a mission to give people their time back by helping them automating their business. And today we are going to talk about grow your business on autopilot with the one and only Melissa Kwan. Melissa, it's good to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. So, webinars. How did you get into webinar automation? What got you passionate about this topic?
I think it was really by sheer force. So I had two other startups also in tech before this. My previous startup was in real estate tech. It was a SaaS company, ran it for 5 years. We were never venture backed, so had a very small team, as a lot of people here can probably relate with. So I was the person doing everything except for code. So all the sales, all the onboarding, all the training with customers all over the US at that time. And as you guys know, webinars is the only way to get in front of all your customers and all your prospects without hopping on a plane. So our team was super small. And as you can imagine, how many demos and onboarding trainings I was doing. So the bigger that company got, the more painful that problem was because I was also traveling and digital nomading. So not only was I doing multiple repetitive webinars for demos and onboardings per day, I was also doing them
Mm-hmm.
on opposite time zones. So being in Japan 4 a.m., doing them for somebody in North America. And I had always envisioned this magical product that would take a video, deliver it like a webinar, that would do my job for me while I can go and have more fun, because that's why we start businesses, right? So that company was eventually acquired in 2019. I did
Mm-hmm.
try to look for products that would kind of solve that problem, but there wasn't really anything on the market that would deliver it the way that I had envisioned. So after that company was acquired, I thought about, what I should do next. I had a bunch of different ideas, but this was the one that kept floating to the top of my mind because there just wasn't something that was just really elegant, really professional with live chat. And so it was just the idea that kept me up at night. And eventually I knew I had to solve this problem, not just for me, but also for my peers and a lot of my friends that I know also live the same thing.
Yeah, well, I can definitely relate to it. How long did it take from the idea to actually starting it? To the moment where you said, "Okay, I'm in. This is exactly what I want to focus on right now, and this is gonna be my next step in my business journey."
Yeah, I know. Like, I know it's hard to believe, right? But, I think sometimes you have like experience hinders you. And I had two businesses before this. So I was so afraid to step into a new business. Some people here might be able to relate. Like, there's so many different
Hmm.
ideas, but once you start thinking about it, once you start digging into it, you're like, wait a second, someone else here is doing a better job, and I'm not going to do a better job. So I
Hmm.
might, like, I don't think I should pursue it. And I was actually playing with a lot of different ideas. I was sure that someone was already solving this. So I was digging all over the internet for something that, you know, would be an eWebinar, but I just couldn't find it. So I would say like I really thought about this like truly for 5 years straight in my
Hmm.
previous company. And then it probably took another 2 months after that company was sold, when I had some, mind share to think about it,
Hmm.
for me to be like, okay, like this is the one that nobody's really devoting their time to. And this is the one that I'm willing to commit to, because I feel like there's competition out there, but
Yeah.
not enough for me to feel like I can't do a better job.
That's I definitely relate what you're saying, and also when you're running already other businesses, you wear scars, so
Yes.
you're way
Yeah.
more conscious before starting a new
Yeah.
one. Is like, okay, am I really sure I want to
Yeah.
go through this hell and back for this particular product? And that was the right thing for you. So what I want to do now in this interview is divide it in two parts. So we first part is and for you that are listening, it's going to be mainly for beginners that are new to the world of webinar, and in particular automated webinars. And then the second part, we are going to go a bit deeper as well into some of the smaller details or insights that someone who is already running webinars regularly or already running automated webinars, then they can benefit from. So if someone is completely new to webinars, and in particular automated webinars, what are some of the use cases? How can they use them, and why do they need to have one?
Yeah, so I guess it's hard to find someone nowadays who doesn't know what a webinar is, right? It's kind of synonymous with Zoom. So even if you haven't hosted one, you've probably attended one. And I think the use case are fairly simple across the board. Either you are selling a product, right? So you're a prospect, you're learning more about a product, or you're joining a webinar to onboard or train on whether it's a product or whether it's a new company that you just joined, right? So, yeah, I think that the use cases are pretty simple. It's just really sales, onboarding, training, and customer education.
Mm.
As a host, right, the reason why you would want to have one is, like I said in the beginning, it's really the only way to get in front of all your prospects, all of your customers without hopping on a plane. It's almost like
Mhm.
the new normal, right? And you can do it, from the comforts of your own home, especially after 2020.
Yeah. Is there
But I
any
also,
diff? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, but I also think for people that aren't familiar with what an automated webinar is,
Hmm.
it's where we take a video and we deliver it like a webinar, so that you still pick a time, you still have a calendar invite, you still have confirmations, reminders, follow-ups, and you still have a live chat that's going, but the video you're watching is not live. Like, I am not delivering it in front of camera. You're watching a video, but the experience to join it, and the experience as you're attending, still feels like a webinar.
Hmm. Is there any pro and cons between doing this live? Because you mentioned you were doing it before going into the world of automated webinars. You were doing all this presentation, whether it were sales presentation or onboarding clients, you were doing them live. Is there any pros and cons that you can give between live and automated? Because a lot of the people that we work with, they sometimes I feel that there is a resistance on the
Mhm.
automation side
Yeah.
because there can be like a lack of personalization and so on. So, what are the pros and cons that you have seen from your
I
experience?
mean, I think that's a huge misconception. It's a huge myth, right? Like, to say, there's a myth that like live is better, but saying live is better is almost like saying I can't watch Friends unless it's live, right?
Mm,
When
mm,
was the
mhm.
last time we did that? That was 10 years ago. Is it really better to watch it on Thursday, 7 p.m. with commercials? Or is it better to watch it when you're free, maybe Saturday at 3 p.m. with no commercials and super high quality, right? With no
Mm,
interruptions. So I think it's interesting, right? Because the way we consume consumer video, like movies, shows, and stuff, we've moved on from live. We're now saying it's on demand or nothing at all.
yeah.
Whereas in B2B content, we're like, oh no, live is better. But who's saying live is better, right? As the consumer of that information, how is live better if I can't make that content? So if you're in London and I'm your customer in New York, your morning is my night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how is it better when I'm not even in front of you, right? So I think the pro is certainly it's not like whether live is better or automated is better. It's what's the use case, right? There's definitely a place for live. Like, do I have to have a one-on-one meeting like we're having right now? That can't be replaced. That's you and me, right? Is there a book launch that you want to talk about? Right? Is there a timely event that you want to talk about that you want live feedback for and that where you want people to chime in? Is there a summit? Is there an event? All of those things cannot be replaced with a video. So that's the use case where like there will always be a place for live. But the con for delivering something that's repetitive is, yes, live webinars may be in your mind more personal, but it's also ridden with issues like connection issues, right? How many times in the past 2 years have you heard, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That doesn't happen with automation, right? Also, low video quality. It requires multiple people to run a really big event. If you are not a great public speaker, if you're not a great presenter, there's a lot of fear into running that webinar.
Yeah.
Right. It is almost like public speaking, but it's worse because there's no feedback. So I would say that if you're delivering something that's over and over again, that you're robotic about, that you don't need someone to jump in. You know exactly what you're going to say every single time. There is more pros than cons when you use it for that particular use case.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love automated webinars. In particular, if I have to do, you hit the nail on the head. In particular, in the world of online launches, if you do a live launch and there is like a timely event that you want to get that feedback on, or to get that audience engagement, or having everyone coming together, then there is a space for it. But if you don't have that, and you actually want to keep selling your products and services over and over again without you being there, or onboard your clients without you being there, where you don't need to be there because it's not a timely event, then you are actually wasting time by not having an automated webinar, because now your clients, as you mentioned, are able to see it over and over again. Now, I know that there is also a question for some people, and I was running a training on webinar called the Webinar Conversion Accelerator that we run with our clients. And one of the questions that came up was, but is it not fake saying to people, oh, come here, and then there is this video recording while maybe they are expecting someone live? How do you manage that part, and what would you say to that particular comment?
Yeah, I would say that that comment is probably coming from people who's already seen other solutions. So I mentioned in the beginning that in my previous startup, I tried other solutions, but I was never able to find something that would deliver something like eWebinar. I did try other solutions, but what I felt like was the other solutions that existed were almost designed to trick consumers. Right? They were all like with fake counters, fake chats, fake sales notifications.
Right. Yeah.
The thing is, automating a webinar, automating anything, does not mean lying to your customer. You can be authentic and also deliver a great experience. That is actually why when we built the solution, we made a conscious effort to never build features that trick people. We don't have a fake chat. We don't have fake sales notifications. We don't have fake counters. Everything is authentic. And we even encourage our customers, our users, to tell people, hey, this video is recorded, but I'm managing the chat. So eWebinar has a text-based chat system where if you want, and if you are there, you can hop into respond in real time. So it's almost the video's live, but your chat's live. Your chat's also live.
Yeah.
Or the video's recorded, but the chat's live. But if you don't respond in real time, say you're sleeping, because sometimes people do join your demo when you're sleeping, you can respond when you wake up in the morning, and they'll still get an email response.
Yes.
And that form of communication, it exists in our everyday lives, right? You hop onto any website right now, there will be a little bubble that says, hey, Simone, can I help you? You know that if you don't get a response right away, you'll get an email, and that's okay. So what we did was we built this type of kind of asynchronous communication into eWebinar. So even though you are watching the video, there's a piece of it that is live, right? So I think it's all about delivery, and in business, it's all about authenticity. That is your currency, right? So I would say,
I agree with you.
Don't lie to people. Right? Automating this experience means giving people the content that they need, that they want at the time that they can consume it. It does not mean tricking them to think, hey, I'm live when I'm not, because when someone's coming to your site and say, Simone, I want to learn about your product, they want to learn about your product. whether you are there right now or not,
Yep.
right? It's not you personally delivering it that helps them make a decision. It's the content that you deliver. So I would encourage people to think differently about that, because they're probably saying that because maybe they've seen something else. But that's what we're also here to change.
And that was a big turnoff, not only
Yeah.
for myself in terms of using automated webinars, but also for the clients that we work with, because honesty, integrity,
Yeah.
not just being fair and upfront with your clients. Like if you start, that's why I never liked these fake countdowns and the fake chats, because if it is the first point of contact that you have with a prospect or a client,
Mhm.
you're starting it on a lie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's how is this good business. I can understand that at the beginning people were not used to it and they could be tricked into it, but at the same time I never felt it was and even people that are teaching the strategies right now, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they have an automated webinar, so then you can have the fake chats coming up and people
Yeah.
making sales, and then inflating and the numbers where they can see there are 1,000 people there where they are the only one watching. I don't think it's good business. So I'm
I
happy
mean,
that
yeah,
you
it's
created
super,
this the features in this way.
yeah, it's super obvious. You're watching at 2 a.m. There's not 1,000 people talking. Like it's obvious, right? So it takes 2 seconds for someone to know that this is a fake experience. And the thing is, we knew that coming into this, if we didn't build these features, that we would lose some of those customers
Yeah.
that want it. Like we would lose people that, hey, maybe I want to switch off from this and I want to come to you guys, but you don't have this. Every day we have someone come in and say, do you have a fake chat feature or a simulated chat feature? And we don't have it. But we're
Mhm.
also okay losing that, because the last thing I want is for someone coming into this experience and feel like, oh, I don't want to touch this because last time I was here, I was tricked into buying something.
Yeah, absolutely. While we are here, let's talk more about some of the features that the eWebinar has different, or some of the best features or the top features that the webinar has compared to other solutions. And then we can go into more advanced insights on the world of automated webinars. So when you had this vision in mind about building a webinar, so we already mentioned some of the features that you have. What are the pillars, the cornerstone that make eWebinar such a great product?
I mean, there were three key things that we wanted to make sure we had. Number one, we just talked about, which is this like asynchronous chat system. It's not a fake email box. It is actually a chat like that works like any support chat that allows you to hop in
Mhm.
to respond. It has to be mobile friendly, because that was the biggest pain that I live with. I did try another solution, but they didn't have a way for me to actually hop in when someone was there. They had an email box, but when someone's watching my video, they're not checking their email. And you have to be able to respond later
Yeah.
if you're not in front of the computer all the time. So definitely that chat system is number one. Number two is we wanted to design an experience that is different than a webinar, right? When you think about webinars, what do you think about? 2 years ago, it was like go to webinar, right? Now
Mhm.
it's Zoom. And maybe there's like Demio and Livestorm, which are like these startups that are making a better experience, but they
Mhm.
all kind of look similar, right? So what we did was we wanted to build an experience that is really about how people, me and you consumers, want to consume video. So we didn't go to other webinar companies to look at design. We looked at, Disney Plus, Netflix, Apple TV, how they navigate, the colors, the little nuances. We took like how people are consuming video and then built it into our design, because we don't have a host, right? If you're looking at a live first webinar solution,
Yeah.
what do you care about? You care about different things. You care about bandwidth, right? Video streaming speed, audio,
Mhm.
screen share. You don't have time to worry also about the consumer experience, because that experience for the host is so much more important.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of these webinar solutions kind of look the same. It's almost like the consumer experience is an afterthought. But because we don't have live video, we don't have a host, we can take all of our resources to focus strictly on how do people want to consume beautiful, engaging video today, so they will stay till the end. Because it's all about getting your customer and getting your prospect to stay till the end so they can take whatever action, whatever CTA you want them to take.
Mhm.
So number one is chat. Number two is just building a beautiful, engaging experience that is meant for consumers.
Yeah.
But number three, kind of helps number two, is we wanted to build in an interactive experience where the viewer is participating. Why do I leave a webinar? Because I'm bored, right? I'm on Instagram, I'm texting my friends because there's
Yeah.
nothing to do. I join a webinar and all of a sudden someone's talking
It's
at me and
boring.
I'm on
Yeah.
Instagram. So
Yeah.
what we did was we wanted the most interactivity of any platform out there. So you can program in resources to download. You can take a poll, take a quiz, answer a question, look at a customer quote, right? So as you know, as the host is presenting, you can also program in all this stuff that pops up that keeps people engaged until the end. And a lot of our customers will say they take the exact same video, they put it in our solution versus an older solution, and their watch time has gone up from 60% to 95% because of that engagement, because you're giving people something to do. And then at the end, they feel accomplished.
That's actually one of the biggest thing about automated versus live. The completion rate normally of an automated webinar is lower than a live webinar, mainly because of the lack of this interaction. Mainly because of lack of interaction. Like if you're a live webinar, you would ask questions to the audience, you will get them to write, you name people to say, hey, Jennifer, thank you for your comment. Thank you, Luca, for what you said today. Which is what is missing that part in the automated webinar. But if we can add those features where I can interact now, and I know that my interaction actually is also meaningful, because my assumption is that for every user I can see the selection, the polls, the comments that they made, what they've chosen. That's my assumption. I will be able to see it. So that's interaction for them. Great data for me as well.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. And what I've just talked about is the attendee experience, which is important because if your customer is happy, you stay with us, right? So we're always focused on your customer. But for the host, which is our customer, think about the amount of data you have on a single poll if you run this 1,000 times. So in the past 6 months, I've, about 1,000 people have joined my demo. I haven't done a single one on my own. I don't actually do live demos because that would be going against my product. But my first question is, how did you find out about us? And 60% of people actually answer that. So you can see the amount of data I can have just from a marketing perspective. And then at the end, I say, how do you plan to use this? So now I even know the intention, of them coming through. So I can either tailor my content, or I can actually shoot that information into a CRM, and then that could trigger a different workflow or different email sequence. There's many different ways to use it, but it's just the ability to gather that data first is really powerful for me as a business owner.
Well, and for everyone who wants to check it out, the webinar as well, the link is in the show notes. So make sure you click the link. And while we are continuing with the interview, you can already see what is that we are talking about and some of the features that a webinar has. I want to know, Melissa, now let's talk a bit more about the insights that you get in terms of automated webinars, because as you mentioned, there is a right way or a wrong way, or if you don't want to use the word right or wrong, we can see a way that is less effective and ways that are more effective. So from your standpoint, from the data that you get, what are some of the things that people must put into an automated webinar now to make sure that people are actually going to stay until the end?
Well, I think number one, which a lot of people don't think about, is offer flexible scheduling, right? So you had mentioned some people think live is better. But if I run a webinar that's live, usually it's like Tuesday at 11, right? Everybody wants to do Tuesday at 11. That seems to kind of be the golden hour. But your Tuesday 11 is not my Tuesday 11. So one of the most powerful things about an automated webinar is you can set a recurring schedule for the webinar. So I want this to happen Monday, Tuesday, Friday, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the attendees time zone. So whether I'm looking at this from London, Singapore, or New York, I'm registering for 10 a.m. my time. Or I want to make it available on demand. So I want to allow you to watch it right now. What ends up happening with a flexible schedule is people can pick a time, or even right now, that they can actually make it, right? So they're not just registering to watch your replay, which how many people actually watch replays, right? Our inbox, our email inbox is like replay
Mm-hmm.
graveyards, right? So
It
because of that,
is. It is.
yeah, because of that flexible scheduling, people can actually attend, whether it's right now or tomorrow or next week. So offering that is actually super, super valuable. And because of that, you talked about unique insights. The average attendance rate across all of our customers is 65%. That is 40% over the industry standard.
That's huge. So from registration, you say that for 60% of people that
Yeah.
register actually end up watching and showing up.
Yes. And
That's
that
amazing.
is
That's
unheard
really
of.
good. Yes,
Yeah,
this is
that's
unheard
unheard
of.
of.
I'm glad I'm sitting down right now
Yeah.
because I'm always falling off my chair.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with, how good your content is. That's just me showing up. And that's why I
Hmm.
like the stat, because it's standardized, right? Like how long you watch is a lot of times very dependent on the delivery of the content and what is that content. But
Hmm.
attendance, that's standardized across the board. So I think that's most important to have. And I think that allowing yourself to have a recurring schedule also requires an open mind. Because if you're switching from, I want to do this one live webinar where I'm doing it once a
Hmm.
month, you really have to change your mindset and be open to saying, you know what? I'm going to test whether it's okay for me to not be there and
Yeah.
how my customers are going to respond, right? Like, I would encourage anyone who's never tried it to just give it a try, because you know what? Like, you'd be surprised how forgiving your customers are. They don't expect you to be there 24/7.
Hmm.
They're just going to be happy that they can get that content. So I think that's number one. But definitely number two is, yes, you can turn it on autopilot, but make sure you respond to people.
Hmm.
Like, we do have people that just turn this on, but they never respond to the chat messages. Like, sometimes I log into account, there's like 100 like unanswered messages. It's like, hey, like, we build this feature, it's great, it allows you to respond whenever you want, but it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you don't have to respond at all. So yes, turn it on autopilot, but set and forget. Don't set and forget your customers.
Anything else? Any other insights that so the show up rate, that's really good. Actually, no, I've got one follow-on question from the registration. Do you find it effective to offer an option of immediate consumption? Because I've seen, for example, in some platform you have pick the time or watch it
Yeah.
now, or is that detrimental? What have been your view on
Yeah.
this?
So it actually is exactly what we talked about, like the whole mindset. Like, if I'm there, it's better. If it's in the future, it's better, because they might bounce right now. So when we were doing some research on, what are the features we want to build into the platform, I also questioned on demand, or some people call it just in time. I'm also like, well, is anyone actually going
Hmm.
to come to my registration page and watch it right now? Like, wouldn't they just watch it tomorrow? But actually, because other platforms had it, we're like, okay, well, we have to have it too. Um, and that's actually the interesting thing about, like, discovering what you need to build for your business, because sometimes you look at another business, you're like,
Hmm.
why do they have that? But eventually you're like, oh, that's actually that's actually why, because you learn that your customers need it. I looked at this stat yesterday. So we have three different options for scheduling. You can watch a replay, which you can, control the video. It's the same video. It just means you can press play and pause.
Hmm.
You can choose a time in the future, which we call a scheduled session, or you can choose a time to watch it right now, like on demand,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
something that's happening every 2 minutes.
And
Um,
before you go on, in the option of watching it right now and watching it in the future, you don't have the option to stop or play the video.
correct.
Like that goes straight only with the replay option. Then you have the option to
Correct.
stop and play the video. Okay, perfect.
Correct, because that's the expected behavior, right? If somebody
Hmm.
registered for a replay, they're probably just out the door. They want to get back to it later. Or maybe they just want to have it in their inbox.
Yeah.
But just because you register for a future session or on demand, you still get a follow-up email with the replay link, in an hour or however you set it up. I looked at this stat yesterday. For replays and on demand, the attendance rate is 96%. This is for my demo, and this is the one that I've run 1,000 times.
Hmm.
For future sessions, the attendance rate for my demo is actually only 60%. So
Hmm.
even though I questioned, hey, is anyone ever actually going to watch it right now? It turns out they do. And it's a huge jump. It's a huge difference. And that's also why on my registration page, I always put how long the webinar is.
Right.
Right. I put it, is it 12 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? So then you are giving people an option to say, oh, do I have that time right now to commit to this?
I like it. So you found it really effective actually to have the option to now or watch a replay. And in terms of the length, let's talk about if someone wants to do a demo or a sales webinar. So here is mainly like a webinar for prospect, not for onboarding. Have you found a ideal length of time that, or does it matter? If that's also even a question.
Yeah. So I came into this also thinking shorter is better. I mean, we all think that, I think, right? We're all consumers, we're impatient, we think shorter is better. But I also see some of our customers have 1 hour webinars, they have 2 hour webinars, right? Especially if we're talking about coaches
Mm-hmm.
and course creators and consultants. Sometimes it's not a straight up sales pitch, right? Sometimes it's here's a
Yeah.
workshop, and then there's a last 10 minutes, which you can buy into my program. What I realize is the length of the content actually has nothing to do with engagement or watch time. The biggest differentiator is the delivery of the
Yeah.
coach, like the delivery of the presenter. Are you enthusiastic? Are you a great presenter? Like, and it takes practice. Are you making the content valuable and tight? Right. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we've seen a lot of webinars where people don't even get into the main meat of the content until like 20 minutes later. Right. They're just talking about their experience, how good they are and how awesome they are. And you don't need that anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Have a quick intro, jump into the meat of it, keep people engaged. And then, of course, if you're using eWebinar, program something that comes up every 2-3 minutes. Ask them a question, have them participate, right? Have them feel like part of the experience. And I think you'd be surprised how long they stay, even if your content is long. So what that tells me is don't worry about cutting down your content as long as you're offering value. Right? It doesn't matter if it's short if you're not communicating the value that you want to get to your CTA.
Um, the last question I have then before we wrap up is on the follow-up, because there is two parts on the automated webinar part. You have the registration when people attend and they watch it. And so we already talked about ways to keep people engaged for longer, some of the features that you've built for it. We talked about the presentation, and that's incredible. But then also there is the other part, which is what happens after the webinar. What have you found to be some of the best practices, whether it's for you or some of the clients that you work with or some of the users that you have also in your that are using the webinar? What have you found to be some of the best practices that can maximize then the sales results or the engagement results after someone has signed up to the webinar?
I mean, I don't think this is isolated to webinars. I think this is just a general sales engagement, sales enablement type thing. Like, just know that start with the assumption that everybody's busy and they're going to forget you. I think that's a good assumption. Yes, what we do have is like you can program in follow-ups for people that didn't attended, but everyone here probably has a CRM or a marketing automation platform of some sort. Put people that have joined your webinar into some sort of drip campaign, right? So we use HubSpot. People might be using ConvertKit, Marketo, or Zapier to link to whatever they want.
Yeah.
We have a 12-month drip once a month for
12
somebody
months.
that doesn't sign up, right? Once a month, they get something that's, a case study, a testimonial video, a reminder that we're still here, right? So I would say a best practice is if you start with the idea that they're going to forget about you, what kind of follow-up are you going to build over the next X number of months, depending on, what your business is. So yes, use a platform to follow up, really basic stuff. Hey, we missed you, or thanks for joining. Here are the resources that, we talked about. So I love to share that. Here's the offer link again, or here's a sign up link again. But then put them into a drip that eventually gets them to sign up to whatever product or service that you're selling them.
So then you have that long term follow up for people that maybe they're not ready to buy straight away if it is a sales
Mm-hmm.
webinar, or they forgot. But
Yeah.
then maybe 6 months down the line, now they want to use eWebinar and they say, now is the right time for me to sign up. And because you have scheduled those reminders, then that will help you also getting the extra sales.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the person that watches my demo is not ready right now. Right. Like I know that once they watch it, they're like, okay, this is the possibility. I'm now going to go back and plan my video. And then maybe life gets busy and then they forget about me. So for 6 weeks, they get a more a more aggressive, I guess, follow
Yes.
up over 6 weeks. But after that, it goes into like
Then after
once a
that
month.
is longer. So then it's like, okay, right now that you have is closer to the moment that you have signed up, then there is a more
Yeah.
frequent communication, and then once a month later on to see
Yeah.
that you're there. I lied. I said it was the last question, but then I had another question in mind, so I'm gonna ask this is the last question though. The regarding, what's your view on special offers on automated webinars, in particular used for sales? Because one of the great things about webinars is to give an incentive, or either a discount or a coupon or some bonuses for people to buy, whether it's a training or a product or
Mm.
services, whatever you use your webinars for. Now, with the automated part, now it's almost like using a special offer, which is not a special offer anymore, because
Yeah.
you can have the same special offer every Tuesday at
Yeah.
11 o'clock. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts, and or have you found a better way actually to make a special offer works in an automated scenario? I'm curious to hear your views on that.
Yeah. So I think special offers is 100 dependent on the price point of what you're selling. Right. So our product starts at $49. There isn't a big enough discount I can give you
Yeah.
to make you sign up today, because for my product, you're ready when you're ready. Right. I can't be like, oh, it's 10% off, it's 20% off. Even
It's not gonna make a
if it's
difference.
50% off,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, I'm saving like $25, right? But I do see it working for high ticket items, right? When people are like, okay, it's $2,000, but if you buy this in the next, 24 hours, I'm going to knock off $500. And there are solutions. We don't manage this, but there are solutions that do manage this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a rolling countdown, right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
there's a company called like Deadline Funnels that kind of manage this as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they match the offer expiry time to say the end of your webinar time, and you can
Mhm.
integrate that with our platform as well. But my view is it just depends on your product. Like if it's a low cost product, you're better off delivering value, like I mentioned, like maybe a workshop, to allow people to get to know you more and
Mhm.
get to know a little bit more about your product or how you teach before they commit. But if it's a high ticket item, I would say that's something that you can experiment with.
Melissa, this has been an incredible interview. I love geeking out on webinars. As you can see, as you probably felt, I'm clearly passionate about the topic. That's also why I was when when I got the email about interviewing you, I was like, yes, we need to talk about webinars because I love webinars. If someone wants to reach out to you or sign up to your webinar, what is the best way to explore actually what this webinar does, the platform, and what can and how they can use it as well in signing up?
Yeah, so you can connect with me through LinkedIn. My last name is spelled Kwan, Kwan. So Melissa Kwan, find me on LinkedIn. And if you want to learn more about eWebinar, it's spelled exactly as it sounds, ewebinar.com. There's a demo on our site, which is delivered via eWebinar, of course. And so you can sign up to a demo, get the full experience. And if you type in the chat, I'm personally managing it as well. So would love to hear from you and any feedback you have, especially if you've tried other platforms before.
That's definitely a no-brainer. So make sure you check it out. In particular, if you either are already using webinars and maybe you're already using live webinars and you now want to add the automated webinar part to your business, or you never used webinar before and now you can start having something automated that is going to that you can send to all your clients, that you can fill up with Facebook ads or whatever the generation strategy you use. Or as well, we haven't talked much about it because I was focusing more on the sales, but also for clients onboarding. You have clients that are buying your courses, buying your product, buying your services. There's a great way for them to understand and make the most of what they bought, in particular after the purchase happened. So multiple ways in which you can use that. So Melissa, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show and an incredible interview.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. And if you are still here, watching or listening until the end, my assumption is you had a good time listening or watching this episode. So make sure you leave us a review, a good 5-star review. That's good for the podcast. It's good for the guest. It's good for my ego. It's good for everyone. So make sure you leave it there, and also subscribe to the show. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. And always remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.